Hey guys, it's Diana Haley. I'm here and I am back with UTA HAGEN's A Challenge for the Actor. Today I'm discussing Chapter 8, Animation. So the first thing she talks about is the body. And a quote I'd like to share is, "The body is a visible tool to communicate a living character. Voice and speech, soul and mind, they are not separate from the body, but rather they originate from it." So essentially here she's talking about when you are using your body on the stage, it is going to communicate a living character, and hopefully that character is living. And when something is living, it's something that breathes, speaks, feels, has thoughts, emotions, and all of those things need to be able to communicate through the body. And how it does so is it does it through the thoughts, through our emotions, and those things come from events that are essentially triggering our thoughts and emotions. And that's pretty much what this chapter is about, and that's animated, living, whatever you can picture in your head. So one of the first things she talks about is that when you do move your body on stage, and even in real life, or whatever you want to call it, the body should be motivated to move in order to reach a physical destination. Like for example, if you are reading a book in your chair and you get up to go get a glass of water, maybe think perhaps while you're in that book, you're reading the book and you're in your chair, you're thinking, gosh, I'm just reading, you're not doing any physical activity, but like, I could use a glass of water. Think that a little bit in your head, because your character is going to go up and get a glass of water. So you're going to think that you are thirsty. Try to think of the sensory chapter we just went through. So your character is a little bit thirsty, so you might swallow a little bit or something like that, go, put the book down on the side, and then get up to go get a glass of water. Don't just simply get up to get a glass of water because that's what the script tells you to do. You are going to create a thought, a desire, a need, essentially, to find a strong enough reason for you to get up and go get the glass of water. And that also kind of covers the standing portion that she brought up, where when you are sitting, that standing is also a motivated movement. It could be like maybe you're in an argument or something like that, and you have to stand because you're completely outraged by whatever it is this person is saying to you. So whenever you do move your body, it's to get to a physical destination, even if it is just to stand, whether it's stretching or expressing an emotion kind of thing. But again, don't do it just because the script tells you to. And she kind of warns not to plan it out. I know I've done this before, and it really did not work. I tried to write on the side of the script for this audition that I was having. I was trying to think of thoughts that I was having currently while I was reading the script. So kind of like, that's kind of offensive, or well, I need to do this right now, or it was like they were very basic, very blueprinted thoughts, and it just does not work. It doesn't work in the audition room. It doesn't work when you're on set or anything like that. So she warns don't plan your body's actions, even just because the script tells you to, or because you feel like you need to, or whatever, because it takes away from you being in the moment. So for that reason, when I do go to the audition room, I guess it's just me as an actor, I kind of rely on improvising, because I will have sudden thoughts come to my head when I have the reader reading back at me, and I might suddenly change the line that I had predetermined to read it a certain way, because suddenly something will come up in my head and I'll read it off completely differently. but my body will move in a certain way that wasn't really like I didn't really expect for my body to move in that way, or to not move in a particular way, just because of what I was hearing from the other person. But everything that your body does, it does because it's got a need to get somewhere, or it's got a need to communicate a particular something to either, the audience, yourself, or another character. She expresses how we move on habit. So what that means is, like, she brought up this one particular example. When you go to the grocery store, and by habit you're going to come in, you're going to drop all the groceries onto the counter, and you're going to start putting away the cold stuff, because you're thinking in your head, at least the first couple times you do it, I don't want the meat to go bad or something. And so you're throwing the bacon in the refrigerator, but like the 20th time you do it, you're just going to do it out of force of habit. You're not going to think, oh, I don't want this to go bad. You're not going to be going through all those thoughts. You've done this a million times. So sometimes in acting classes and stuff, sometimes the teacher will ask, how many times do you think this character has done this? Or how many times do you think that you'll have to do it in order for your character to learn, or something like that? Is it your first kiss? Is it your millionth kiss? Or is it like, the first time you've ever like broken into a house? I don't know. Thinking of something like that, right? So and that would be a question too. Like, is that something that people usually do on a daily basis, or is this new? So it's kind of like, if you cannot communicate with your body how new this habit is, or how old this habit is, I guess not a new habit, maybe a new habit. Does that make sense? But if you can't communicate that, it doesn't come off, it doesn't show. And that's why those questions are asked, because your body's not there. It's just maybe your thoughts are there, but your body's not doing anything. Now again, you don't want to plan for your body to do something, because then it kind of comes off a little robotic feeling. It's like, oh, now I'm supposed to do this. Okay, and I move this over here, and then and then it just kind of looks mechanized, and it doesn't look authentic or real or anything like that. So you want to be able to have your thoughts aligned with your body. Like she said, they're not separate, they originate from it. So you want to keep that in mind. We know where we were, where we are now, and where we are going. So you hear that a lot in acting class as well, where they will ask you, where has your character been? They don't mean like, what's the past life of your character? What was the the biography that you wrote out? That's not what they're talking about. So they're talking about, like, have they just come in from the rain? Have they just come in from a fight from their spouse? Have they just received news that they got that new job that they've always wanted? Like, where are they coming from? And then where are they now? Did they just walk into a completely polar opposite situation where it just changes their body, where they were like, oh my gosh, guess what? Oh no, like how does their body change? Is it slow? Is it gradual? Is it quick? That always depends on your character's character. And then where are they going? So usually, where are they going? I feel like sometimes that's a predetermined answer that the actor is prepared for. They go, oh, I know where the character is going. It says so in the script. No. So I think something that would be more effective, because we always, if you think about it, we always plan our days out. Oh, first I gotta go to the bank, then I gotta go to the store, I should probably get some gas after that, blah, 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 blah. But then you get a phone call, and somebody needs you to do something else. Or your daughter needs you to pick her up from school because she got sick, or something like that. And so then your whole day is flipped upside down, and you have to wait until tomorrow to go to the bank, or something like that. So I would leave the where are you going part while you're living in the scene. I would leave that part as a surprise even to you. It will allow your mind to rethink about where you're going next and what you have to do, and that'll cause a physical change in your body, because now you're doing something that you didn't expect that you were going to have to do before. And so that's something to think about, unless your character has a happy-go-lucky life and just everything works out all the time and there's no conflict in the story whatsoever, which doesn't happen. So there's that. Must also know on-stage habits and otherwise. Discomfort by current inconveniences would be an exception to alter physical destinations and purposes. So, oh yes, that's right. Okay, so she made an example. Say someone comes to your house, and it's this new friend that you've got, or this new neighbor, and you're like, welcome to the neighborhood, come to my house, we'll have some coffee, we'll talk about, the places where you've been, and, you start up a new friendship, right? So they come in your house, and they sit in your chair. Your favorite chair that you always read a book in, or doing your puzzles in, or something. But I don't know, that's what I do. I don't know what you do, but that's just what I do. So they sit in your chair, and now you have to find another place to sit, and it's not your chair, so you're not quite comfortable. So a small little inconvenience like that, even though it's not a big deal, you're not going to be like, oh, get off my chair, you have germs, you're not going to do that. Hopefully not. That's just, you're going to lose a neighbor and a friend. But those little small inconveniences are going to cause discomfort in your body. So you might sit in a chair and you might just be like, so, so you might be a little uncomfortable just by those small things. Or you might see something. Today I was watching Why Did I Get Married? And, they see the new girl come in with their friend's husband, and it's obvious that he's cheating on his wife with this girl, right? And she's very beautiful, and one of the actresses just goes, mm-hmm, like, she just looks up and down at this girl like, oh, I see, and she does this little small little movement that causes that discomfort and these small inconveniences, and it completely changes the attitude and the tone of the entire scene, and it's really well done. Standing after sitting or lying down must also have a purpose, like I said, when you stand up to go get a glass of water, or to stretch, or like whatever. Just make sure that everything that you do, there is a purpose. There's a purpose to it. Okay, next we move on to the mind. She says, thought is not based on verbally organized ideas, rather it moves at the speed of lightning. Yes it does. So she gives off this example, and I'll try to come up with my own, because I said I was going to come up with my own. So say your boss is coming over, he's coming to evaluate your performance or whatever like that. This guy's a new guy, he just got transferred over, and he has been known to be a hardball. And so you get very, very nervous, and you spin around in your chair, and you accidentally knock over your clipboard, and it totally hits him in the nuts. Oh my God. Okay, so in like those split seconds, how many thoughts are running through your head? Like, I'm gonna get fired. First of all, it's the first one. Let's just throw that out there. I'm gonna get fired is the first one. And, maybe you will get fired. But the point is that you probably have a million thoughts running through your head. It's not in those 2 seconds, you can't possibly comprehend those things. Then you go to tell your coworker about it, and you go, oh my God, you will never believe what happened. And then you tell her what happened. And, you know, she's laughing, but, you know, you're like crying and sweating. And, but nothing is organized because you're sitting there probably for the next 15 minutes trying to tell her all the things that were going on in your head. And you can't like seem to get the words out or anything like that because it's not organized. So every small thing that happens, even if it's maybe a small argument or an exchange, whatever kind of interaction you're having with another character, to tell that story to another character or to confront another, you know, they're just not organized. Yes, they're organized on the script and they're organized on the page, but in your character's mind, it's not organized. So you're so busy, like, freaking out and, like, in the moment when it happens, and you're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And you're like shaking and you're sweating and everything else, but your body is moving. There's nothing really going through your head that you can verbally organize and that you can just tell your friend straight out, oh yeah, I was thinking this and this and this and this. It just doesn't happen like that. You're just rambling on and on and on, freaking out about, you know, this guy firing you because you're just clumsy. She says also, do not separate thoughts from actions. Every action has a purpose or a thought behind it, whether it be a conscious thought or a decision. That's what it says. It was like at the bottom of my paper, so it was like I was writing like really tiny. I'll read that one more time. Sorry. Do not separate thoughts from actions. Every action has a purpose or thought behind it, whether it be a conscious thought or a decision, which is very, very true. So everything that your character does, whether they have a new goal to meet or anything like that, they're doing it because a decision has been made, or like I said earlier, it's kind of unconsciously done, like the whole grocery thing, or like if you need to grab your sunglasses real quick, you know right where they are, you can go and just pick them up and run out the door, you know, so you're kind of just doing things unconsciously. And that would be animating the body and the mind. She continues the mind with something she calls real thinking. Real thinking is something I kind of interpreted as improvisational thinking. So the things that you have to concentrate on while you're on stage is the main goal. What is it that your character needs to accomplish at the ending, you know? So when you have things that are threatening that goal or furthering that goal or anything like that, you're constantly thinking about what would be the most beneficial for you, so, or your character, and is what I mean. So you maintain that, and then while things are being said to you, or while particular events are happening to you, you are essentially thinking, is this getting in my way, or is this helping me push forward? And those kinds of things are what your body is going to react to, essentially, and possibly your character might vocalize responding to another, which we'll talk about in a little bit. That will help get that going. She also talks about inner objects, which is kind of a subtext to the mind and to real thinking. Inner objects, we discussed them before. They were objects that we would see, that we could have sensory memories with, things that we can have particular relationships with, things that could have sentimental value, or its current status, whether the object in question is inconvenient or convenient to us. She comes up with this brilliant example, and the example is that you're throwing a dinner party, and at this particular dinner party, you see that your bed is unmade, and you're just like, oh man, should I make that now or should I make that later? Like, am I going to even mature the house? I don't know, maybe that's my anxiety rambling off, I don't know. But you're looking at your bed, and you're you're like, okay, that's a little dirty, you know, or something like that. Or you see your tablecloth and it's got like a little dirt mark on it. You might, you know, go like this on your way out the door, like you're trying to wipe it off really quick because you have to go run to the store because you forgot something. So like these little tiny itty bitty things, you might have a relationship with the bed, relationship with the tablecloth, relationship with the fact that you completely forgot something. Oh my God, I forgot the garlic. How could I forget the garlic? I love garlic. Things like that. So those inner objects could be something that your character could be thinking about while they are trying to get to either their short-term goal or their long-term goal. They see things on the stage that are set up a particular way, so that your character might have a relationship with each and every one of those things. And it does have a relationship with each and every one of those things. If you walk through your house, you could think, okay, what's my relationship with the cookie jar? It holds amazing things inside, such as cookies. So, you know, you don't want it to break or anything like that. So, you know, your relationship with a lot of things probably in your house is that you wouldn't want them to break, because that means having to go out and spend more money to replace those items, you know. So, you know, things of that sort. And then she moves on to listening. I'm sorry, guys. I know this is a long chapter. It's a very long chapter. So she talks about when listening, hearing the words just isn't enough. And it's very, very true. If you have someone come up to you and you're not really listening because you're looking at something else, you know, and some people are like, well, you're not looking at me while I'm talking to you. That's happened to me before, can you tell? So you're looking at something else and you are trying to concentrate on whatever it is you're concentrating on, and your eyes are here. But if they're at the other person, you might be visualizing what it is that they're telling you. Say they're telling you about this movie they went to last night, and you're not going to see the movie anyway, so you don't really care if they tell you or not, you know. But if you're looking at them, you're visualizing what they're telling you. And then once you visualize that, you're like, oh, wow, that's really cool, or, you know, whatever kind of response you have. But you're kind of like, oh, okay. Or like, if it's like a horror film, which I can't do horror films, you know, I'm like, oh, that's like really gory, ew. But like outside, I'm probably like, oh wow, you're into that, okay. I just, yikes. But the point is that when you visualize something, your body has a natural reaction to it, you know, and you could like tell sarcasm in the eyes, you know, because eye contact is also very intense. It can send a lot of messages. But when you're listening to the words, if you're just hearing the words, you're kind of just waiting for your cue. You're waiting for like the last like 4 or 5 words that you've memorized of the other person's lines, and you're trying to be polite, let them have their line, you know, and then I'll speak, you know, but then you're kind of just like still waiting for the next line. And you see that in a lot of theater these days, and it's gotta stop. But they're just kind of waiting for their next move, you know. They're waiting for their cue to go, okay, I gotta go turn the light on now, you know. When they say, hey, is it a little dark in here, you know, oh, I gotta go turn the light on now, you know, unless, you know, it's, you know, a surprise party, I guess, kind of event or something like that, and like you're supposed to mess up, you know, then it's very, you know, staticky. But then that's like, you know, then that's comedy and stuff. And but other than that, like your body needs to be engaged just as much as your ears and your eyes, because those are part of your body. And so to animate that and to communicate all those things, they all really have to be connected. You can't just be like standing there and waiting for, you know, to hear your next cue, you know, because then it looks robotic. She also kind of comes up with something a little interesting. She sort of, in a roundabout way, brings up stillness. And stillness is a strategy a lot of professional actors use. They're really brilliant when they do it. Morgan Freeman, of course, is one of them. And, you know, sometimes he's listening, but he's completely still. He's just like this, listening to everything that's being said. But his body and his eyes are completely engaged, and you can tell that he's listening to the other actor speak, or to the other character speak. And you can tell he's listening, and you're like, you can't wait to hear what comes out of his mouth, because you know he's listening, and you know he's thinking as well. He's coming up with a response. It's not the response coming from the script. It's the response coming from him and his character, and that's what makes him a brilliant, brilliant actor. So try to keep that in mind. It's keeping a lot of focus in a lot of different areas. That's why training is very important, because you have to train your eyes, your ears, and your body in order to properly engage with someone else, with another character. And to be able to just do that constantly is really quite a skill. Another quote that's really, really nice says, we must weigh the content, approve or disapprove, empathize or reject, and then question, does it further or interfere with our ultimate goal? We have to hunt for solutions to the problems being posed. So that kind of brings up the point that I had brought earlier about, does what's happening right now, whatever the situation is going on, whatever the conflict is, does it interfere or does it further me into my goal? What will help me further me into my goal? How can I get around this? Those are the kinds of thoughts that you would be having, and then that your character goes to the next move, the where are we going part, makes his next move, or he makes his next response. Okay, and the last piece is talking. After listening, we become the senders. So when we send back words in which the other is supposed to listen to us, we have to give it back with meaning and intention, because again, we are trying to find a way in which we can get around this conflict and find how we are going to get to our goal. How are we going to figure this out, so to speak? Be truthful in verbal communication as we would in the real world. So if you notice, like in the real world, when we're talking, sometimes we overlap, sometimes we interrupt each other a little bit, but every word that comes out has meaning, it has intent, there's a reason why we're saying it. We're not just saying it because we like talking, we like hearing ourselves talk. No, we're like really discussing something, because we're either all trying to get to the same goal or our goals are opposing. And so we are trying to communicate things, but no matter what, we're trying to have our way with it. And so when we speak, we have to speak with that intent involved, and try to get somebody else to kind of lean our direction with it, so to speak. I have a lot of notes. This was a very long chapter. Before speaking, especially for intent of meaning, one must realize he is speaking as though he has never spoken before. So that was just kind of something I wrote down to kind of emphasize that when we do speak, we speak with that extra little oomph of meaning, like it's more than just a reason. It's like a life or death situation. If we don't get this message across, it could mean me reaching my goal or not reaching my goal. So you kind of have to raise the stakes, so to speak, when you are communicating with another character, or you're trying to figure things out yourself. So that's kind of why I wrote that down in there, is to just raise your stakes, because it'll give you maybe that extra little edge that you need to amplify those words. And she discusses eye contact. Articulation is very important. She stresses articulation pretty much through the entire book. Practice in articulation, particularly dialect. She says, even if it annoys your colleagues, do it anyways. So I'm like, okay, I have a really horrible British accent, but I guess if it calls for it. So, but practice in your articulation and your dialect. There's nothing worse than having to rewind a movie and go, what did they say? And try to rewind it 4 or 5 times, trying to figure out what it is the actor is saying, because you can't hear them, because you can't understand them, because they're mumbling, or they're being breathy, or they're saying things too quickly, and everything's just blending together, and everything's a big fog. And then you're kind of like, you feel like, what if that was the missing piece that I needed to figure out this murder mystery, film or something like that. I don't know. But, you don't want to be that guy. Yeah. So that's pretty much it. It took me a half an hour to get through that. I just jumped right in, and it took me all that time to do that. This was a very long, complicated chapter. There was a lot of repetition, because we kept trying to make sure that the solid message was sent across there, and that everything kind of connected together. If nothing connected, or if some things were a little bit foggy or fuzzy, because, again, I didn't write the book. The amazing UTA HAGEN did, and I'm just here to summarize for you. But if you have any questions or anything like that, comment on the comment section below. And I will see you guys next week. I think chapter 9 is pretty short. I think chapter 10 might be short too, but they're in 2 different sections. So I'm not sure if I'm going to put those 2 chapters together or the same, but I'm going to be pumping up these videos a little bit, because I am like 3 weeks behind. So I will see you guys next time. Okay, bye. Thank you.